There are a lot of plants that can kill you. But there's only one plant in nature that scientists agree isn't going to kill you, but will probably make you wish you were dead. It's called the suicide plant. In 2022, Naomi Lewis was riding her bike in a park in Queensland, Australia, when she slipped, fell off the trail, and plunged down an embankment. It was a hot day, so she was wearing shorts, which meant that she could feel every leaf, twig, and branch scraping up her legs as she crashed through the woods. But before she could even gather herself, she was overcome by a pain that was in a different category than anything she'd ever felt before. Unfortunately for Naomi, this wasn't just a regular crash. She had just made contact with one of the world's most dangerous plants. Some of those leaves that were scraping up her legs belonged to the Gimpy Gimpy plant, aka the suicide plant, and in that short amount of time of contacting it, the pain she felt was so overwhelming that she started to vomit.
Really good. Can we breathe? You alright?
People compare the sting of the venomous Gimpy Gimpy plant to being burned with acid and being electrocuted. Naomi would later tell the news that it felt like she'd been set on fire, and as a mother of 4, she also said it was worse than childbirth. To understand why the Gimpy Gimpy is so dangerous, you have to take a closer look, if you can find it. From a distance, it looks like a normal leaf blending in a little too well with the other plants. Step closer and the leaf seems to be covered in a thin layer of white fuzz. Step too close and you'll realize that those aren't just fuzzy hairs. They're more like super tiny thorns. The structure is called a trichome, consisting of a bulb where the venom is stored, attached to a hollow calcified shaft which transports the venom to a sharp curved tip made of silica. Silica is similar to glass, so it's perfect for piercing skin and delivering venom like a tiny hypodermic needle. Once it enters the skin, toxins flow through the hollow structure and the glass-like tip breaks off in whatever or whoever is unlucky enough to brush against it. So the Gimpy Gimpy plant is doing 2 very painful things. It's injecting you with neurotoxin, and it's leaving tons of tiny shards in your skin. Luckily, Naomi wasn't alone. She was with her husband, and when he realized what was happening, he drove to the pharmacy, bought a bunch of wax strips, and then she laid on the hood of her car while a bunch of people tried to wax her legs. As weird as this sounds, it's a common and smart first-line defense against Gimpy Gimpy stings. But the pieces that you can actually get out are the least of your worries on this long road of excruciating pain, because the main culprit is the neurotoxin. Even though the Gimpy Gimpy plant is in the stinging nettle family, the protein that makes up its neurotoxin is closer in structure to the venom of a spider or a cone snail. Normally, when something painful happens to you, like you get punched or you touch a hot stove, nerve endings in your skin detect the stimulation and trigger a chain reaction. At the cellular level, tiny protein structures in the nerve cell membrane called sodium channels snap open, and sodium ions rush into the cell, creating an electrical charge that shoots along the nerve fiber towards your spinal cord and up to your brain, where it's interpreted as pain. This happens lightning fast. But the moment that signal fires, those sodium channels close and that nerve resets. If the pain stimulus is still there, the channel opens again, the electrical charge fires again, and the cycle keeps repeating. Stimulus, open, fire, close, reset. The moment you pull your hand off the stove or the bruise starts to heal, less nerve endings are firing because there's less and less to communicate, and the pain slowly dissipates. But the neurotoxins of the Gimpy Gimpy plant, known as gimpetides, completely break that whole system. They bind to the sodium channels and hold them open, locking them in the on position. The sodium channels never close, so the nerve never resets. So your body is overwhelmed by an abnormal amount of pain signals. And because of the way they bind to the nerve cells, there's no painkiller or opioid that's actually effective for a Gimpy Gimpy sting. And these proteins, these gimpetides, are very small and stable, so they're hard for the body to break down and clear away, which means that they can hold the nerve in that on position for a very, very long time. And that comes with consequences. Nerves that are constantly firing like this can become permanently damaged, which makes them super sensitive to even the slightest stimulus. This is called allodynia, a condition where nerves become so sensitive that things that normally wouldn't cause discomfort, like the slight touch of clothing or even cold air, causes pain. 9 months after Naomi originally slid down that embankment and ran into the Gimpy Gimpy plant, she reported feeling like her legs were being popped with rubber bands every time cold air hit. This is after she had spent 7 days in the hospital and 6 months on painkillers. Now let's talk about the actual silica shards that get left in your skin. These fragments can stay in your skin, causing irritation and agitating those fried nerves until they're either manually removed, like with the wax strips, or they work their way out on their own. And scientists say that can take 6 months to a year, but there are stories of them taking much longer. And if you've ever had a splinter that you couldn't get out and your body had to push it out on its own, you know that after a while, your skin grows over that splinter, and then the process of it finally coming out on its own is kind of painful. But you don't even have to touch a Gimpy Gimpy plant to feel its effects. They're constantly shedding their hairs, and they can easily become airborne, irritating your eyes, your nose, and even being inhaled to create an allergic reaction. And remember, they're not just floating through the air, irritating your eyes and your nose and your throat. They're floating through the air, irritating your eyes and your nose and your throat while covered in a little bit of venom. These floating hairs are so bad that scientists have to wear protective gear when handling the Gimpy Gimpy plant. One scientist named Marina Hurley spent 3 years studying the Gimpy Gimpy plant, and she paid the price. The first time she saw it, she went into a sneezing fit with her eyes and nose running, but her symptoms got progressively worse each time she was exposed to the plant until it caused severe itching and hives that eventually needed to be treated with steroids. Ultimately, her doctors advised her to have no further contact with the Gimpy Gimpy plant, but the plant that causes pain that no one can switch off might be able to teach us something about pain for good. Scientists are studying the way the gimpotide neurotoxins hijack our nerves in order to develop painkillers that don't rely on opioids. So for millions of people who suffer from chronic pain and addiction, the suicide plant might actually become a lifeline.